are listening to the most comprehensive paranormal archive on the internet.
Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'll be sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. Excuse me for any noises I make here. My nose is bugging me a little bit, apparently. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. But there are many ways to support the show. You can share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platforms. You can sign up for the Patreon feed and get all the extra content there for as little as $1 a month. And you can also check out the merchandise store and get all kinds of shirts and other items with designs made by friends of the show. Please follow friends of the show, including Jen, the Arcane Observer, who is the co-host of the show on Saturdays whenever possible, whenever she's able to make it, and has her own channel. We had a great conversation last weekend, episode 985. So definitely recommend that whole series of revisiting my experiences. Also, Ricky of the Anything Is Possible podcast. He does usually on Sundays he does a paranormal themed show, and I've been joining him for that every week so far for a while now. And also Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio, which I call into frequently, and the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear all kinds of amazing shows, as well as my own, 24/7 online for free. So I think that takes care of everything here. Thank you all for listening, however you happen to be listening. And let me get back to the document here and we can get started. So hopefully you all have been enjoying the slight change to my schedule as far as doing 4 shows each week of the same kind of show, alternating the shows each week. I don't think I'll be doing that for good, but now it's working for various reasons for me. I guess you could say production. We'll do that until at least until episode 1000, which is coming up soon as well. But anyway, excuse me. Getting to the stories here, the true stories. This one says, this happened in the United Kingdom. When I was around 10 or 11 years old, I was outside playing in my garden when it was my little sister's birthday party, and there was around 20 of us all outside. Suddenly, I felt something land on my neck and poke me. It stung slightly and also tickled. It then flew off my neck, and I looked, and I swear to everything, it was a fairy or a flying little person or whatever. It stopped and looked at me before it flew away. I had 2 really big lumps on my neck, around an inch apart from each other, from where it had landed, and I assume poked me. A couple weeks later, I went to a museum, and they had an insect section, and I explained to the staff my experience and the bite, and they could not identify what it was. I'm 20 years old now, and I still think about it all the time, and I'm convinced it wasn't an insect, as it genuinely stopped and looked at me. I saw its wings, clothes, face, and everything. There was something in its hand which it maybe poked me with, which caused the 2 marks. Not sure, though. No one has ever believed me, apart from my girlfriend, but she is still skeptical, as I was only 10 or 11 years old at the time. And that's where that one ends. I always feel bad for people that are sort of not believed just because they're younger. It's really ironic in a way, because that's when so many people have anomalous experiences, is when they're a kid. But anyway, that is a wild one. I think it's been a little while since I found an account of a little person like that, and I don't know if I've ever found one until now, until this one, of someone seeing one of these little figures with wings flying around. It's fascinating because, again, you hear about these figures from mythology, from folklore, and to a lot of people that's all that they are. But there are people out there, this person included, and many others, who have had experiences. And there's just so much there with that I think that there's something to it. I don't know who or what they are, that these things that appear, or why they appear that way, or if that's the only way they can appear or not. But um, there are these reports of this happening. So it really is wild. And I do wonder, was that sort of an accident? Did this figure sort of think that the person here got in their way, and so it was sort of a self-defense kind of a action? I'm not sure, but it could be, especially since nothing else really happened and it flew away. It's possible there. Excuse me. So yeah, it's a wild account, but not unheard of. There are entire podcasts devoted to little people sightings, and it's there. So moving on to the next one here. That's also before I move on, I forgot to say that's one of the. I'm kind of okay with it. With this, this is also one of the few things I have not experienced as of yet. Is a sighting of one of these figures, and I'm okay with that. But because sometimes they're positive encounters, other times neutral, other times not so much, not so nice. You never know. The next one here says, so it all started off with my boyfriend saying that he saw this figure around my house and in my room, and I thought he was just trying to mess with me. Then I saw it for myself for the first time. I have a very old house, and I feel like there's always been some sort of energy here. But this is the first time that it's revealed itself to others and me. What does this mean? This figure was extremely tall and just a black, blank figure. It had sort of like gray-white eyes and slowly faded into the distance, which is exactly what my boyfriend saw as well. I am in western North Carolina in the U.S., and this has been happening since last year, and that's 2025. And that's where that one ends. I wonder if the boyfriend was sensitive, more so sensitive than the other people in that house, and if he sort of, I don't know if triggered, possibly, could have maybe gotten the attention of this figure more than anybody else did in the house until then. I'm wondering if that's why they're seeing this figure now, or I don't know. It's really odd, but the shadow figures that have eyes is always fascinating, and if you look around, you can find accounts of different colored eyes, white or gray, like this one says here, red. I think I've heard green. I think I've heard yellow as well. Maybe I'm blanking now for sure on that. But and what I wonder is, what do the different colored eyes mean? Especially since the colors are not all like natural colors that people have in their eyes in the physical sense. What does it mean? And also, what does it mean when people see shadow figures that do not have any sort of glowing colored lights for eyes? So it's really odd. There was one I shared on a recent show where this person saw a shadow figure type thing when it had red lights for eyes, and it had like a red light on its chest too. So, and again, it makes me think that there are all different kinds of entities out there taking all different kinds of shapes, and that the shadow is just part of it in some cases, but then in other cases there are just entities that appear as shadows with no other features other than just that it's a shadow. Maybe that the shape is different. So there are sort of, I guess you could call them general categories of what people see. In other words, shadow figures But then you can start finding variations within that. Once you start looking into all these experiences, you can find some that have a hat, some that just are a human shape, some that are the size of a person, but they're more just a blob of a shadow, like an oval. Um, and then you have these different figures that have different lights for eyes. So what it all means, I don't know, but the reports are out there on all these figures. Moving on to the next one here. This one says, I wanted to share a story with you describing what I saw around 20 years ago. It was a hot midsummer evening. I went for an evening run. I was in my early 20s, and this had been my routine for a long time. 3 sprint sessions and 2 mid-distance runs per week. That's the routine. That's a lot more than I ever want to do. Nothing unusual. That day, I switched paths and decided to take a route alongside some fields after passing the cemetery. I started at a slow pace so that I could increase it later. Suddenly, 10 to 15 meters in front of me, I saw a creature running across my path from one wheat field to another on the opposite side. I was shocked and ran away. What I saw was a humanoid creature about 1 to 1.2 meters, so nearly 4 feet tall. Its face and head was fox or jackal or kangaroo-like. The running pattern was very human, an erect, straight posture with leg movements close to ours, but it kept its arms in front of it, like a dinosaur in the movies. The arm movement is blurry in my memory, so I'm not 100% sure about that part. 100% sure about that part. I have tried to explain it to myself for years. I thought maybe it was some diseased or mutated animal, but the more I thought about it and the way it moved, the more certain I became that it wasn't an animal. I can't recall if it was wearing anything. It happened too quickly. I was also afraid to talk about this because I thought no one would believe me. Has anyone experienced anything similar? From mythology, it was close to Anubis, Egyptian mythology, but with a brownish gray skin or fur color. And that's fascinating. That's where that one ends. Yeah, I don't know what that person saw, but that's quite the sighting there. I'm glad that this figure didn't run towards the person. They just ran across the road. So yeah, I'm not sure what they saw. There's just all kinds of sightings of creatures out there. And yeah, I don't know what to make of it. Speaking of that, we have another one here that may be in the similar vein here. So I'll start reading this. This says, this happened in either 2022 or 2023 in South Jersey. I wonder if they mean New Jersey. I was at my girlfriend's house at the time, and she lived on the edge of my town. And there's a canal path, and I always went on the roadway back to my house. But it was creepy. I don't know why I was feeling confident, but I decided to go on the canal path, and I was walking. I think I was on a call too, but I don't remember. I had my flashlight on, and I was scared by a beaver, but I kept walking. And not too long after, I saw this human-looking thing, but his eyes were just shining like an animal, and he was obviously aware of me, looking back at me. I remember being so scared I couldn't do anything. It was just a humanoid creature that was around 7 to 8 feet tall, and I have never seen anything so white in my life. It ran into the woods, and I didn't know what to do. If I should run home, which was in the direction that it was just standing, or go back to my girlfriend's place. I decided to run home because if I went to my girlfriend's place again, I was going to end up going home anyway. So I ran home nonstop. It was scary as heck. I had to make sure it didn't follow me. So I just stared at the front door for a good hour. And that's where that one ends. So that is fascinating. This is not the first time I've found accounts of just a solid white humanoid mass of a creature, of a being. The glowing eyes is fascinating because does that happen within a white surface? So I don't know with that, but that is, I've come across similar sightings before. So I'm trying to make sure here. Did I open the right? So apparently I must have found just a string of similar accounts right away at one after the other because I'm looking at my feature or the accounts coming up here. And anyway, funny coincidence here. So this next one says, I was walking a trail by the woods and a creek one day with my oblivious to everything pug. Suddenly I saw what looked like a man, only 18 to 24 inches tall, made all of twigs, start to cross. Then he suddenly shot upward, into the trees, I assumed. He wasn't like what I'd think of as a gnome. He didn't have real heft to his body. Just twigs as a trunk and twig arms and legs. It was too quick for me to see a face. Has anyone heard or seen anything like this? Heard of or seen anything like this? And that's where that one ends. And yes, I have heard rare accounts like this. Again, I don't know what that is. It's fascinating that it went up into the trees. I wonder, did it climb? Did it fly? I'm not sure. But it's hard to say with that. It's really wild that there are so many different types of entities that are seen out in nature, near woods and near forests and everything, and just outside, fields, all those kinds of places. And this is, again, that's not very tall. That's 1.5 to 2 feet tall. So that is fascinating. But I've also heard of accounts of people seeing figures shorter than that. So let's see here. So yeah, let's see. We'll go through at least one more here, and see where we're getting up time-wise. Like I said, I've been very lucky. I've never had an encounter with anything like this. I also don't spend a lot of time outdoors, so that's probably helps in that way. But that's not always a guarantee you won't see something, some kind of entity that is some kind of a creature or cryptid, as they call them sometimes. So they do appear everywhere. This one says, I have seen real goblins before. It was in rural Wisconsin in between a friary and a graveyard. They were circling around a tree, and it was quite foggy when they appeared, but they were unmistakably goblins. This was around 2006 or 2007, and I have thought about it every day since. It was in a small town not too terribly far outside of Frontenac. Probably saying that wrong. The goblins were short and mostly brownish. They had large yellow eyes and small, not quite horn heads, I guess I mean. I wish I had been able to stand there and look at them more, but it was a terrifying experience. There was also another man with me at the time who corroborated my story at the time by telling me what he saw before I told what I had seen, and his description matched mine exactly. He has since threatened to kill me when I asked him about about this years later. The goblins, I'm hoping that means as a joke, or just as a general, don't talk about this kind of thing. The goblins were incredibly short, probably about 3 feet tall, maybe shorter. They may have had little stubby tail nubs as well. Some of them were more greenish in color, but they were mostly brown. They were dancing around a tree when I saw them. I am hoping to hear from other people who have seen real goblins. And that's where that one ends. And that's also, again, fascinating. I didn't plan on having so many sort of encounters with creatures or other beings like that in a row, but I share them as I find them. So that's fascinating when that happens. Usually happens more with lights or orbs or objects moving But this time we had a different run of a similar kind of experience. And that's part of the fun of doing this, is you never know what sort of patterns are going to show up, and you're just finding these accounts of these experiences and sharing them as you find them. So yeah, that's really fascinating. You have several different kinds of entities there, and then of course a shadow figure as well. But then you have this figure of white, this white figure with shining eyes. So a lot of different things, a lot of different shapes and sizes in these accounts today. And I'm always fascinated by this just because, like I said, I've never had an encounter like this before. And so I do like to find these whenever I can and share them with everyone. But that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.